calls facing up. It shows kindness and openness, and it's a universally accepted gesture.
From an evolutionary perspective, what this shows people is that you have nothing to hide. You are not trying to be smart.
Just to breathe and be. You show me your palms and now I have a deeper glimpse into the fractal you hold temporarily. Unfold without clenching desire.
Reminders on the road. Don't tell my mom. I'm driving back from Grateful Fest. Another fantastic time at Nelson Ledges. Just wanted to document a quick story. Well, I say quick, but we'll see. Just recalling a beautiful conversation that I had with a new friend named George. This was Sunday morning. Just happened to drop into a pretty lengthy and very fun, exciting, fruitful conversation with this guy, George, and then my bestie, Paige, popped in for a good amount of it as well. So the three of us were chatting about, gosh, I don't even know where it began, but kind of the fruits of it were digesting the idea of, or the reality that we are different people for different people. You know, we show up as different versions of ourselves depending on who we're interacting with. And we were sort of just taking this deep dive about, you know, first impressions of people and how that can inform our expectations, how that tickles our nervous system in either a way of excitement and attraction or rejection or judgment, that we're making these micro or major assessments of a person's vibe, either what they're wearing or the mood they're in and whatever other bits of energy and information we're picking up from them, you know, these first impressions. And it's true of not just meeting someone for the first time, but also just entering a space with someone. And we're kind of just circling around the idea that we each are filtering life through a very unique kaleidoscope of our own personal experience, our own personal associations with the languages that we interact with, you know, the verbal language being such a dominant tool for expression and understanding, but also possibly one of the languages that has the most potential for misunderstanding as well, because we all have different associations with the same words that we're using, you know, sort of assuming that other people are understanding us. But at the end of the day, we'll never know if they do or not, you know, even if they give a resounding nod or they echo the right words back to us that makes it feel like mutual understanding. We're never going to be in their world. We're never going to know if they see the color blue the same way that I do, or that they've had the experiences that will resonate with me expressing about an experience of my life. But still, we do this dance, we still sing the song and, you know, carry on in this way. And I was just representing the perspective of like deep trust, radical trust. And that even when I say something and maybe it's taken the wrong way, so to speak, or even not even directly interacting with someone, but maybe someone's walking past the campsite, or one of the friends are just in a tangential conversation, but they hear a little bit from me or whoever, and it means something, like it maybe acts as a reminder. Something totally random could just spark a reminder of focus, or of, oh yeah, I was gonna go grab that thing, or whatever it is, right? And just trusting, or even if someone says something negative and is actually trying to, like, you know, bust someone's chops a bit. But if I have a disposition of assuming positive intent as a default, you know, then hearing someone say something that maybe was actually kind of catty, I might take it as a compliment. I might take some fruit from it and just totally spin it on its head. And I didn't receive it the way they meant it, but I took what I needed from it, you know, something that I can dance with rather than something that's going to dim my light or make me question myself or get self-conscious in that way. So anyway, there was a lot more to this conversation. I'll see if anything else flows to me, but it was just a really beautiful exchange with someone that I had never met before. I haven't talked to him since. We just had this one little drop-in for like maybe an hour, and it just felt like such podcast material, to be honest. And I come to find out, I just listened to the Very Abe latest podcast episode where they're kind of recapping the weekend as well. And come to find out, this is someone that Sean and Cash just happened to meet at the beach a few years ago at Nelson Ledges. And this weekend, they go and swim in the quarry and get out of the quarry, and there's George. So he's a local up there. I was talking with him. He only lives like 20 minutes away from the park. So he just goes and hangs out, and I'm sure just meets amazing people, and you know, sparking this camaraderie with otherwise strangers, right? But finding the common ground, finding the friend, and an unfamiliar face. And we talked a bit about travel. I was asking him if he gets out of his town much or out of the state, or travels to, you know, Cincinnati, where I'm from, a good 4 hours from the quarry. And so we talked about that a bit, and just talked about the pros and cons to traveling solo, and how we both agree that often we prefer to travel with a companion. You know, can be a lot more fun to go out as a squad or go out as a partnership and, like, you know, share beauty together. And I was kind of saying that, like, yeah, I mean, there's beauty all around us and all inside us at all times, and we absolutely can tune into that and honor a deep presence in our own beauty and our own perception of our personal dreamscape. But there's something about, there's something to be said for beauty shared is beauty amplified, you know. And at times, you know, being with other people can be a distraction from that deep presence as well. So it's all about balance and all about curating the experience that you want to get into, and being mindful about who and how we spend time with others, you know. I was recalling with him the short trip that I made to New Orleans last fall, and how that was like a really beautiful experience for me to revisit a town, a city that I had only been to once and really enjoyed with my partner at the time. And revisiting it by myself, it was bittersweet, because on some level it sort of broke the spell of my enchantment of that city. Like, I was more in an observing mode of the culture and the energy and the people around me, more so than kind of diving in the waters of the party scene and whatever else, right? And I was kind of like on this mission to find a good busking spot. I had my ukulele with me and things, and I don't know, there were moments of just like, what am I doing? What am I looking for? Like, what's the connection I'd like to make? You know, am I putting myself out there enough? Things like that. And, you know, that's a journey that I wouldn't really necessarily be digesting if I'm there with another person. Although I say that, but immediately I'm remembering a lot of moments, even in that first New Orleans trip, where that was not even true. Like, there was a sense of me being aware of my tendency to want to stay in a comfort zone. And I recognized that to a degree on many different occasions, actually, this weekend, you know, to different degrees. Not in a way that felt so heavy as in the past, but there were moments of it feeling heavy. There was moments of feeling incapable of something that, or uninspired to do something that I felt capable of. But at the same time, trusting the organic flow, and I feel like things did sprout and bloom in the times that it was appropriate and natural. But I guess in this season of my life, I'm also being called to creating a bit more fearlessness around facilitating moments of connection and expression rather than just waiting for them to come to me. The other side of that is just a deep allowance and appreciation and acceptance of the different seasons of life, and that there are times to embody the masculine and the yang side of the yin-yang, and there are times to embrace the receptive flow and potentially, I don't want to say stagnation, but stillness. And it can be difficult when there's people that we love and that love us that have seen us in different lights, and there can be cognitive dissonance in me when I feel like I'm not stepping up to, I don't want to say an expectation, but to a prior example that I've set. And this can be a positive or negative example. But obviously, I don't feel shameful for not being a negative version of myself that maybe I've set an example for to certain people. I think of my family, growing up and being a child around these people, and so they've seen shadow versions of myself, more immature versions of me. I don't feel shameful about not doing that, but it's another set of energy where it's a difficulty to splinter my identity from those habits of being, those patterns of being reactionary and reassuming more immature versions of myself, specifically with my family or people that knew me when I was a kid or knew me from a different era of my life. And so this is something I'm sort of digesting as well. And I won't go into too deep of details on that at the moment. But it relates to the conversation with George, because we were just talking about how we're all in our own matrix of reality, our own dreamscape. And that at the end of the day, all we gotta do is really take care of ourselves. And the more that we do that, the more we have capacity to take care of the group and the community. And I just felt really inspired in this conversation to deepen my devotion to my own health and to taking care of my body and my mind and my spirit in this way. Because it doesn't feel good to have a low spirit, to have a not as much energy as I know I can have. That feels, it feels bad, and it can create a downward spiral where you just have this negative feedback loop. So yeah, it was just a really inspiring conversation for me, and I felt really motivated to do that, and also acknowledging the ways that I did do that this weekend, that even though in some ways I wasn't as present for the community, I felt like I was taking time for myself to meditate at the water and to move slowly and consciously and check in with myself, what do I want, what do I need, what feels right, and there were levels of that were overblown, that was overthinking, and this was another aspect of what we were talking about with George, was just this idea of, what is the mind's purpose? It's to solve problems, and I feel like many of us are creating problems to solve, but it's only really existing in the mental space. A lot of times our nervous system, based on its traumas and experiences and the things that shaped it, recognizes a threat and something that's actually neutral, or potentially an ally that we're creating a threat out of, creating a perception of danger where there really may not be danger. And So that's where the self-care goes into like healing work, and by that I'm speaking about nervous system rewiring, like somatic practices, physical practices that can retrain the nervous system to feel safety more often as a baseline, and to reestablish healthy relationships to different moments and different stimuli that maybe historically would be conflated with a trigger, something that's making us feel unsafe. So just a big affirmation on what I was talking about on the write-up of wanting to deepen my practice of presence and meditation and yoga and all these things that help engage in the hygiene of the spirit, of my vitality, of my life force, life flow, if you will. And each morning I did take at least a few minutes at what has become a bit of a sacred spot for me at the Ledges, which our campsite was right by. We have this little back balcony, little ledge above the quarry where you can see the beach, and it's kind of a slightly hidden away spot. Doesn't seem to get too much traffic, and I like to go down there and meditate, and I've had some really powerful moments down there. And this year I was met by a couple rather big dragonflies while I was down there, and it just felt like such a affirmative synchronicity, because I was talking to my buddy Lucas and Evan, a friend of Lucas's that's becoming a friend of mine, a week or two ago, about getting a tattoo. And I just had an image of I feel like a dragon tattoo would be kind of sweet. And as soon as I called that in, I feel like the dragonfly spirit has come to me quite a bit. And so I sort of had this idea of going to a friend that I know in Pittsburgh, James from Owl Hollow, who does really beautiful tattoo illustrations and work. So it's kind of like, we'll see if it lines up to stop by there Monday and get a tattoo. And anyway, so the dragonfly was coming and going throughout the weekend. Driving to James's spot, stop at a cafe, sit at the window, dragonfly comes up. I get to James's spot and start talking with him. We both had gone to festivals recently, and we were just vibing about that. And I look at his right hand, and he's got a little dragonfly tattoo. So that just felt like very affirmative, and he ended up hooking me up. And I was sort of struggling about going through with that, thinking that, at the festival, did I really, because the dragonfly spirit is one of transformation, simply put. And I was like, did I really embody transformation? Did I earn my wings? Did I earn the dragonfly spirit, to carry that with me on my body for the rest of my days, And I just let it go. It's just no, transformation is not a one and done. It's not I'm not a literal caterpillar that's gonna melt into some goo in a cocoon and then come out a butterfly or something. We are these multi-dimensional, ever-flowing, ever-changing entities and beings and becomings. And so it just felt like a really appropriate honoring of that spirit that's come to me, and to allow that to be a consistent reminder to myself and others that we always have this opportunity to transform, and it doesn't have to be a huge shift, The transformation can literally just be man, I'm feeling kind of funky, let me breathe. Let me transform this motion of wanting to ruminate. Let me break through that by just coming back to my breath, just coming back to my body, just small tactile things that I can do, just drawing circles with my index finger on my thumb, or bringing a hand to the heart, or giving myself a little dry shampoo massage, you know what I mean? Just work out that energy in ways that can be really subtle and really fun and really fruitful and freeing as well. So anyway, those are some updates. Just some quick reminders on self-care, the ability, capacity to transform and to accept as well, you know, because part of that transmutation, that trajectory of the and acceptance as well, because part of that trajectory of transformation and transfiguration is accepting the aspect and the phase of ourselves that is overconsumptive, that is really focused on the me, and the feeding of the me, you know, the feeding of the ego in whatever form. And then the phase that is still for a long time, and the detangling, the dismounting, the breaking down of that ego into the primordial goo to be born again into something more free, more empowered, more in alignment with freedom and lucidity.
More than this experience of form, out of the formless we are born, just to breathe and be. With your palm upon my heart, stroke the spark that speaks inside